Hi, Ask Auntie Tam here, and today we are in a slightly different location. I'm taking care of a friend's house and her cats, so I thought I would park myself here in the garden, which is actually really beautiful. Have a look. Very nice, beautiful, peaceful setting. Unfortunately, it's raining, so I can't actually show you the other side of the garden there, but it's really beautiful and it's really relaxing and it's what I need because I've had a pretty disastrous week, with Friday being the culmination of absolute chaos, disaster, and distress. It happens because it's life, but it's not exactly easy to handle when you are in recovery. So, in my case, my brain went all kinds of places, which were a little bit dark, I have to admit. So, let's just dive right in to today's topic, and that is when looking at the deeper aspects of recovery. I know that I always say that it's important to get therapy and to get medication, some sort of help, but there's always something deeper than that's creating the situation you're in. And before I carry on, I once again want to remind you I am not a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, not a medical professional of any sort. Everything I'm talking to you about comes from my own lived experience. So, what do I mean? Oh, there's a cat. Fantastic. I'm going to leave that in because, hey, cats are fantastic. So, what do I mean by that? Well, you know me, I'm always like, serotonin in the brain, you know. But it's not just about the serotonin in your brain. It's also about the issues that you experience in your life, the things that have happened to you, and a lot of them it's kind of like a background noise to your depression and anxiety. It kind of sits there far in the background, and what it really is something that can go as far back as childhood. I know in my case, quite certainly, a lot of the things that I have to deal with come from way back in childhood, and it's important to explore those, and that's why I always say it's so important to have a therapist, a good therapist, one that can help you explore these issues, help you find a path through them, help you to deal with them, because I can tell you from my own experience that it colors the way you are in the world. It colors how you interact with people, your work, your relationships, your friendships, your family. It really, it's like you are wearing this lens of trauma that you are seeing the world through, when that is actually not really the picture that is being presented. So somebody may say something to you and you may take it as something aggressive and horrible because that has been your experience in the past. Meanwhile, it may not necessarily be that. And I'm going to be, I've said this, I haven't said this on the videos, but I do believe that none of us comes out of childhood unscathed. You could have the most amazing upbringing with the most fantastic parents, the most beautiful childhood, but there are things that do creep in. Like you may have a nasty teacher, you may be bullied at school, you may experience the death of a relative or a pet, even falling off your bike. All of these things will contribute in some way or another to how you are in the world as an adult. And what I've experienced is that seeing a lot of the stuff that's come through from my childhood, and then I've had trauma layered upon trauma layered upon trauma, which, wow, how I'm still here, I sometimes wonder. Anyway, one of the things to really look at while you are recovering is to find somebody that you can really explore your issues with. Because you may turn around and say to me, hey, I've been fine my whole life. never had an issue, and then suddenly, bam, out of nowhere, this depression. There is still something behind that. There is still something that may have triggered that. So explore that. Have a look, because it's not just about, which I always say, a lack of serotonin in the brain. It's not just that. There are things, visceral things, emotions, events, trauma ugh, that can contribute quite powerfully. And you might not even realize it. And when I'm talking about trauma, I'm not just talking about a violent act. I am talking about things that could be quite mundane, like falling off your bike, or somebody saying something mean to you when you were at school or at work. That could be traumatic. It could be something like a car accident. It could be another kind of life event, like a death of a loved one or a death of a pet. It could be even, and I think there's a trauma associated with any kind of people who have, who've in a relationship who've strayed. For the cheater and the non-cheater, there's trauma. There would be, from what I understand it, and I've spoken to my therapist about this week, there could be anything that could crop up out of the blue and then snap, there it goes. So for me, we were talking about how certain incidents in my childhood relate to how I perceive criticism or negative feedback in the world, which was quite enlightening for me. Okay, well, that puts it in perspective. I know what to need to work on. And many of us walk around with a wounded child, a wounded child within ourselves. And you might think that that wounded child is not really that influential. No, actually, that wounded child has lot more influence than you may actually realize. That wounded child who didn't get the validation he or she needed, who wasn't recognized, who was neglected, who was bullied or teased in any way, has a powerful influence on your life today. And one of the things that I found quite specifically during this week of talking to my counselor was how deep those roots go. You could be walking through your life thinking you're an adult, and then your interactions are actually being dictated by a 6-year-old who somehow got neglected. And that is incredibly sad, and it's difficult to work with, and it's difficult to work through. But the work is important, and it's important for your healing and your growth and your recovery. Because without that, you are just walking around taking medication, and sorting out the serotonin in your brain, but not looking at the deeper issues, because there are a lot of the layers and depth to depression and anxiety, and it's not, you can't simply just, whether you doing alternative therapy, whether you are doing medication, you can't just leave it at that and think everything's going to be fine. You need to explore those issues, whether you use a therapist or a counselor or a good spiritual counselor. And I say good spiritual counselor because remember in the last week video, the depression no, you don't want that kind of spiritual counselor who's going to tell you that you are possessed by the demon of depression. I think even being in the closet is quite traumatic, and this is one of the things that she pointed out to me, is that being in the closet, whether you're trans or gay or bi or whatever, being in the closet is traumatic because first of all, you're wrestling with your identity. That is difficult and it's traumatic. Secondly, because you're hiding who you truly are. Thirdly, because you are fearing the reaction of the people around you should you come out. So even that is trauma. Even that, and I really do believe that I should do a much deeper dive into trauma and its effects on the brain and its effects on your depression and your mood and your emotions and how you are in the world. I just need to do a little more research for that. Because I do think there is a lot of trauma that dictates who we are and what we do and how we behave. And it became incredibly clear to me this week with my reactions to certain events that I found distressing and difficult to deal with. Um, one of the things that I will say to you is that above all else, be gentle with yourself. Um, be gentle with the process. You are healing. You are working towards a healthier mind, a healthier soul, and that is not an easy journey. So give yourself some credit for actually taking that on, for being part of that, for actually taking that journey on. Now, I have had some questions from you, which I will answer, so please don't worry. I just need to research one or two of those so that I can give you a really decent, comprehensive answer as far as I possibly can. And I would like to thank you so much for watching these videos and for the 3 more subscribers that I've got, because I've got 6 subscribers. Thank you so much. Um, so I'm grateful that you watch these videos, and I do hope that you actually do get something out of them and that they are helpful to you in one way or another. So like, comment, subscribe, leave your questions, and let's talk again next week.